So I just entered week 3 of my half marathon training. I'm running a half marathon in December. In today's video, I want to share with you some of the thoughts that I have around change and growth and the opinions of others. And it's directed specifically to some feedback that I have been getting in my personal social media space. So a lot of it is coming from strangers on the internet about their thoughts about what I am doing for my own life. And I want to share this with you today because maybe you're going through a season of change or you're going through a season of growth and you're adding some new things into your life and you're getting some feedback from people in your inner circle, or maybe even some people who are just on the outside looking in, that isn't the most encouraging. And how can you go about handling that? And I'm going to share how I'm handling it here. So my name is Diane Parham. I am 59 years old. I have been in this community sharing information for women who are transitioning through the hormonal season of change we call menopause. And I have been doing that primarily through intermittent fasting. So over the course of the last 10 years, I have been able to reverse my insulin resistance, reverse my prediabetes, reverse my osteopenia, reverse brain fog, depression, anxiety, like all the things. If you were to look at a list of the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, I have pretty much reversed a lot of those things, and I've done it primarily through lifestyle change. So changing my nutrition, changing my fitness, changing the way I show up around food, and using the tool of intermittent fasting to do that. So if you've been here for a while, it should be no surprise to you that I love running. In 2024, my goal for the entire year was around running. I set a goal to fall in love with a 5K. I ran a 5K every month in the year 2024. I ran 108 consecutive days of completing a 5K. And it was a really fun experience. I came in first place in my age category for a race, came in third overall in age category, and this year even placed in a race as well. So running is not new to me. The thing that I have been noticing, or a lot of the comments that have been coming my way in this community, are coming from people who are uncomfortable with what I am choosing to do with my life. And again, if you've been hanging out with me here for a while, I hope you have picked up on the fact that I am a cheerleader for women. I'm a cheerleader for women's rights. I'm a cheerleader for women showing up as the best version of themselves. I'm a cheerleader for women doing hard things. I'm a cheerleader for women really taking up space in the world and proving that we're capable of doing a lot more than a lot of people think that we are. So the fact that I am training for a half marathon at 59 years old should not be a surprise to anyone who has been paying attention, because that's what I do. I am a mindset coach who is encouraging women to do big things in their life. That doesn't mean that you have to run a half marathon, but I want you to think about some things that you might be holding back on just simply because you're afraid, you don't have any self-confidence, maybe you think it's not your place, or other people in the outside world are telling you not to do the thing. And why are we letting that happen? And so today, what I'm going to model is a lot of the reasoning why I'm doing a half marathon and how I'm going about it. And if you're not interested in me doing big things for me and me stepping into a space in my life where I'm doing things now that I maybe wasn't able to do 5, 6 years ago because I wasn't showing up as the best version of myself simply because of the season I was in, then I would highly recommend hanging out with someone else, because I'm not going to slow down, I'm not going to be quiet, and I'm not going to take up any less space. And I am encouraging the women here who are interested in doing big things to not let anybody else do that to you either. So I'm not new to running half marathons. I have run 2 previously. I ran one when I was 44. I had my baby at 40. I nursed her till I was well into 41. And so I was feeling like I just wanted to do something for myself to just kind of prove that, outside of having babies and raising kids, that I could do big things. And so I ran a half marathon on my 44th birthday. And I'll go into a little bit in the future videos about the training aspect of that and some things that I learned about my body during that time. But I did pretty well. I finished my half marathon in 2 hours and 17 minutes. It was a beautiful experience all the way through. And like I said, I learned a lot of things. Then I ran another half marathon at 47 And if we look at the clock chronologically, I was knee deep in perimenopause when I ran my second half marathon. And I do think that some of the training that I was putting myself through, some of the nutrition I was putting myself through, some of the supplements I was using at the time really helped me manage perimenopause because I had no clue at the time. I was in perimenopause. I was in really good physical shape. Physique wise, I was doing really great. And I finished that half marathon in 2 hours and 11 minutes. So 6 hours faster than the one I had run previously 3 years prior. And so, again, proof that women in perimenopause and women in menopause and postmenopause can do things for themselves that a lot of people don't think they should be doing simply because of their hormonal state. And I think we have a right to prove them wrong. So great experiences both times. I learned a lot about my body. I trained completely different for each one. Again, like I said, I'll share some of that in a future video. But here I am now at 59 years old. I'll be 59 and a half when I run my half marathon in December. And I'm just going to see what I can do. I have no pressure that I'm putting on myself, but what I am noticing is how great my body feels in this training process. I'm using running on a treadmill, running outside, doing lots of yoga, lots of strength training, lots of recovery work just to make sure that I keep my body healthy. I'm currently running a challenge, or what I like to call a club, on my Instagram account. So if you follow me over there, you can jump in if you'd like, where we are moving our body 100 miles in a month, or as close to 100 miles as we can. Literally, all you have to do is track it. And it's amazing some of the feedback I'm getting from the people who are participating in this 100-mile club and how great they feel about themselves mentally, physically, and emotionally, and how surprised they are at what they're capable of doing simply because they're putting an effort out and they're tracking it. So again, if you are in a place where you're feeling stagnant or you're not seeing progress or you're feeling like a little humdrum about your life, why aren't you setting yourself up to do big things? Why aren't you setting yourself up to step out into the world and take up some space and show what you're capable of doing? It does not have to be running. It doesn't have to be walking. It doesn't have to be 100 miles, but something. Show up. I am using a metabolic tracking device to just see how my body is responding to my nutrition, my fasting, my sleep, and the stress load, not negative stress load, but the stress load of exercising that I'm putting on my body and how all of those things are working together. So like I said, I am in week three through week 6. I'm going to be experimenting with some nutrition and just seeing how my body responds to the energy load that I'm creating for it and how I'm using that energy to execute what it is I'm asking of my body, whether I'm burning carbohydrates or whether I'm burning fats, and if I'm doing that at the appropriate time. So that's been really fun as well. And then I'm also working on my running performance. So I'm really looking at some metrics with my running to make sure that I'm actually making some progress, right? And am I training or am I just showing up? And in this season of my life, I am seriously putting in some training efforts. So again, it's one of those things that if you approach a situation with the right mindset, you'd probably be surprised at what the outcome can be for you. And so I am definitely going into this with a training mindset and executing in a training modality. Fun fact, I am an exercise nutrition coach and I'm an endurance exercise nutrition coach as well as a running coach. So I do have the formal training for that and I do have the experience. So I am using my own experience and education to train myself using some tools that I have available in my wheelhouse to kind of help me execute that. I'd love for you to follow along. Maybe you'll get some encouragement or motivation to do something big for you in a season of life where there are a lot of people probably telling you that you shouldn't. It does not have to be running, like I said, but just do something. Do something to make yourself proud, do something to make yourself feel good about yourself, and do something to prove to you that you have a lot left in the tank, regardless of whatever season of life you're in or whatever age you are. So for those of you, like I said, who don't have any interest in what I am doing, I totally understand that. So if you don't want to hang out, that's totally fine. For those of you who are interested, and maybe this has sparked a little something in you to think about what it is you're doing in your life or what it is you think you want to do in your life, I hope you stick around. If you have any questions, I'm an open book. I will share anything that I can with you. As I go on in my training, like I said, I'll share a little bit about what I'm doing with my metabolic tracking, what I'm doing with my nutrition, and what I'm doing with my fitness and recovery. I will be running fasted or what I like to call fast supported. So I will be using some supplementation, but I am not carb loading or becoming carb dependent during this training season or with the execution of my actual race. Again, I'll go into a little bit more of my experience with that as I move along in this journey. So I will be fat adapted. I will be running without carb loading or being dependent on carbohydrates. And again, I'm using my metabolic tracking device to prove that I'm actually in that metabolic state when I'm training and when I'm racing as well. I will be incorporating intermittent fasting, like I said, with my running as well. So again, I'll be sharing a little bit more of that here. And I think I'm going to try to do some vlogs of a day of my life. And then I also share that on my TikTok and my Instagram as well. So if you want to see more recent day in the life or little snippets of my everyday, you can follow me over there as well. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit because the comments have been a little bit disappointing from our community in the fact that women are so willing to share how disappointed they are through the lens that they live in about something big that someone is doing for themselves. My encouragement to you and my advice to you is be happy for people, be happy that people are growing, be happy that people are changing. Oftentimes, the most uncomfortable part of change and growth comes from the person who's not changing and growing. And the fact that they're looking at other people doing things that they think they're not capable of doing, and it creates those negative feelings. If you're feeling negative about someone who's winning, take a look at yourself. Why is that the case? Why are you not cheering someone on? Why are you not a motivator? Especially here in a community full of women, we should be cheering each other on. Please refrain from your negative thoughts and your negative comments about someone that you're following if you do not agree with what they're choosing to do with their own life. I guarantee you they're probably grown-ass women and they know what's good for them. Know what's good for you. And please stay out of the negativity. It's not doing you any good, and it's not doing the person who's receiving your messages any good either. And just a reminder, we are still running our intermittent fasting for today's Aging Woman course, which is the lifestyle that got me where I am today at 59 years old. So if you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling stuck, maybe you're just feeling negative about some things in your life, I highly recommend jumping into our course. It is geared toward your mindset. It will change the way you think about you. It'll change the way you think about your life, and it'll change the way you think about your future self and how to move yourself forward. Everything can be found in the description box below. I will put a link here as well for you.